Hey guys, what is up? Thank you for coming back to our channel. Today I'm going to be telling you guys the story time about how I found out I had endometriosis and how I found out I had the BRCA2. These kind of go hand in hand with each other, so I'm going to just tell both of those stories together. I truly feel like this story defines who I am as a person and defines how my life turned out to be the way it is. And we're also going to be painting because I'm stressed out, my tummy hurts. Let me just give a backstory before we begin. When I was a freshman in high school at the end of my freshman year, my mom was diagnosed with an extremely aggressive form of breast cancer and later on cervical cancer. Because of that, my mom was tested for the BRCA1 and 2 genes, and she actually tested positive for both of those genes. So the doctor informed me that I should start getting pap smears when I turned 16 every 6 months, and that I should highly consider getting tested for the gene whenever I turn 18 years old. Whenever I was 17, that's when I had my first painful period. So whenever I went to go get my pap smear done, my mom brought that up to the doctor, and they pretty much put me on the depot shot, which is birth control. And I'm not gonna lie, birth control did help my periods for a while because I just didn't have periods. So it did help with the pain and some of the symptoms that I would have, but it didn't last very long. Whenever I turned 18, I got a full-time job. And there was about a month that I didn't have insurance because I was getting onto my insurance for my job. So I wasn't able to go get my depot shot again. So about a month I was without the birth control. Whenever I went back to the doctors to get the depot shot again, I had the worst symptoms ever. That it just was not working for my body this time. So around this time, I started having a lot of stomach pains. I didn't know what was going on. I actually went to the emergency room for my stomach pains. They said that I might have a cyst that ruptured on my ovary. So I went back to my doctor. And, I told them, like, hey, this birth control is not working out for me. I want to try new birth control. I also want to get tested for the cancer BRCA1 and BRCA2 genes. My doctor, for real, looked at me like, and I was just like,
what do I do?
He was like, if you need to get tested for those cancer genes, you shouldn't even be on birth control.
And I was like, what?
So at this time, I had been on birth control for about a year. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, why wouldn't this have came up sooner? Why am I just now finding out that I shouldn't be even on birth control? And he was like, I'm not sure why you were given birth control. I must have missed that on your chart. Okay. But he was like, look, I'm going to send you to a gynecologist. They specialize in all this. They'll be able to, see your ovaries if you have the ovarian cyst, tell you what you need to be doing, and they'll be able to give you the blood test for the cancer genes. Whenever I went to this new gynecologist, she didn't run any tests on me. She hardly even looked at me, hardly spoke to me. She just looked at my chart the whole time and was like, yeah, so I'm going to put you on this medication and it's going to help you with your ovarian cyst. She was putting me back on birth control, but she didn't tell me that she was putting me back on birth control. She just called it a medication that would help. I didn't find out until I got to the pharmacy and they were like, oh, so you're picking up your birth control? And I was like, what? No. I was extremely upset about it, so I went back to my doctor, but he was just kind of like, that is her specialty. She's a specialist. She'll know more than I would in that area. If she tells you need to be on birth control, then you should take it. I'm not sure why she put you back on it, but if she tells you that you need to be on it, then you should be taking it. So I didn't really know what to do, and I just believed them because they're doctors, right? I was still having so many pains. My primary physician wasn't helping. He ran tests. He's like, I don't know what's wrong with you. Nobody knew what was going on, so I was tired of it. I stopped taking the birth control. I went to a new gynecologist, and this gynecologist, I love her so much. She's actually a nurse practitioner, but she's better than any doctor that I have ever went to go see. I'm not joking, other than my infertility doctor. But she pretty much told me kind of the same thing. She said that birth control would be the best thing to help with my period symptoms, But she ran a bunch of tests on me. She did a bunch of ultrasounds, and she couldn't understand why I was having pain either. She was like, everything looks good from my point of view, so I'm gonna send you to a stomach doctor. So I went and got a colonoscopy and an endoscopy, and they both came out perfect. Nothing was wrong. And she was like, well, let me try to put you on IUD. IUD won't release any estrogen. It's fine for you to take, for you to be on this birth control. At the same time, she also took my blood and sent it out to get tested to see if I had the BRCA 1 and 2 genes. The IUD was absolutely horrible. It was so painful. I hated it. I had it in for about 3 weeks, and I was begging for her to take it out. Like, I was like, I can't take it no more. Like, take this out of me, please. They took out the IUD. Thankfully, it was horrible. I didn't like the IUD. And, like, every woman is different. So, if you were thinking about having the IUD, every woman's different. I personally absolutely hated it. I was in pain the whole time I had it. But she took out the IUD, and whenever I was getting dressed, she was just like, hey, do you have a minute? Do you mind if I talk to you real quick? And I was like, sure. She was like, I just wanted you to know that your test came back and you do test positive for the BRCA2 gene. And immediately I started bawling my eyes out. She held me and she just kind of talked to me, and she was like, you know, I know that this is the worst news that you can possibly hear today, but I just want you to know that now you know. And every single step of the way, somebody's going to be helping you. She just went over everything about the BRCA2 gene. Whatever you have that gene, you're at high risk for melanoma, eye cancer, breast cancer, ovarian cancer, and if you're a male or if you have a son, they're at high risk for prostate cancer. So at the time when that happened and I was going through that, about a month previous to me finding that out, I had just lost my best friend to cancer. So I think that plus watching my mom go through cancer is what made me like so emotional about finding out I had that gene, because I watched both of their journeys through it, and I just attended my best friend's funeral. So it wasn't easy finding out that I had that gene at all. This is whenever she told me that if I was planning on having a family, she didn't know if I had talked about it already or thought about it, but if I was planning on having a family, I should have a family before I turn 25, because ovarian cancer is known as the silent cancer. It's very hard to detect, and usually whenever they do detect it, it's too late. So just for my safety, she said that I should have children before I'm 25 so we can get all that stuff removed, so it's not something that I'll have to worry about. And that's the same exact thing that I heard from the same doctors that were treating my mother for cancer, because ovarian cancer is a dangerous silent cancer, and it's very hard to show symptoms of it as well. So in that same appointment, this is the first time I've ever heard of endometriosis. The first time anyone brought it up to me. Around this time, I was 20 years old. So I had been going through this since I was 17. And honestly, that's not a long time, because there's women in their 40s who don't know that they have endometriosis. There's women in their 60s. It's crazy the amount of doctors that just overlook this. She was like, you know, I don't know what's going on. The only thing that I can think of is this could be endometriosis, but you're so young. It's so unlikely that you even have endometriosis, so I'm not sure what's going on. More tests would have to be ran. So she referred me to a genetic counselor, and she also referred me to a surgeon to talk about the laparoscopy to see if I have endometriosis. And I just never went. I don't know why. So there was another time where I was having another extremely painful period, and I had a dream about my best friend. And I'm not going to go into the details about the dream, but when I woke up, I immediately started crying, and Jorge's like, oh my God, what's going on? But I started crying, and I ran to the office, and I just started going through our medical records. And I told them, I was like, I need to go see the doctor. I need to go get this surgery to see if I have endometriosis. It's time. So I went ahead and I made the appointment to go talk to the surgeon to see if we can do the surgery for endometriosis. So whenever I got my surgery to find out if I had endometriosis, first thing I said the second thing I said when I woke up, the first thing I was like, where's my family? The second thing I said when I woke up was, did they find endometriosis? My mom was like, yep, they found endometriosis. They cut out as much as they could. They said that they are biopsying stuff, and my mom just kept talking. But once I heard, yep, that was it, I immediately started crying. And everyone was like, why are you crying? Are you okay? Because they thought I was in pain. I was crying because so many doctors saw my age and just thought I was crazy. They thought I was dramatic. A lot of doctors never took me serious. People never took me serious. People I worked with never took me serious. They always just brush it off as if I was dramatic, I was just a kid, or like it was just probably something stupid going on and I just couldn't handle pain. But although, yeah, I had endometriosis, I was so happy because I was like, I'm not crazy. Because after a while, I really started thinking, I was like, maybe I am just like crazy. Maybe I am really dramatic. Maybe it's not as bad as I think it is. So now I actually had medical proof. And that's pretty much what led me to my journey of infertility as well, because when you have endometriosis, it does make it hard for you to get pregnant. Whenever I mentioned that in my last video, I had a lot of people reach out to me about both of these topics. So I'm really excited to tell this story because that's the only thing that really helped me before I knew I had endometriosis, was talking to women who did have it. So it does help to talk to people and find people with endometriosis. If you think you may have it, reach out and talk to people. The only way that you know you have endometriosis is if you do the surgery to see if you have it. But I love having people reach out. I love helping people. So please, if you have any other questions, share your journey with me. Endometriosis can cause so much damage. It's just better to know if you have it before that point comes where it's caused so much damage that the doctors can't fix. So thank you for painting with me. I'm going to finish up this painting before Jorge gets home, because if you haven't noticed, I'm painting Homer Simpson, and he loves Homer Simpson. He loves The Simpsons. Thank you again for watching. Thank you for supporting us through this journey, and stay tuned for more videos. Bye, guys.